And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, my name's Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at Res Arcana. This is a game from Tom Lehmann, which is 2 to 4 players, although I think really works best as a 2-player game, which is a mage versus mage game. Yeah, there's a lot of those out there, isn't there? Well, this one is a different style. Tom Lehmann is mostly known for his Race for the Galaxy style games and engine building games. And that's what this game is. This game is you're going to use cards to get resources, or essences that they're called in this game, to get points in a variety of ways. But what makes this game unique and different is you will have a very small pool to pick from, and every game is going to be different because of that. Here's why. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to get one of each of the different essences and golds. You have gold, life, death, calm, and elan, or I'm just going to call it fire for the rest of this game. So you start with one of those. You're also going to pick or be drawn a mage. So there's different mages that you can get. So each mage is going to have a special ability that you essentially turn the card to use that ability over the course of the game. So you're going to get one of these, and you'll get the starting thing, and then you're going to get a deck of 8 cards from the artifact deck. So you could just randomly shuffle and give everyone 8 cards. There's a variant where you can draft them. The game also will tell you, like if you're a certain mage, you can pick these numbers in the bottom corner. So if I'm mage number 4, so let's say I was the transmuter here, then these would be my 3 starting cards, and I would get 5 more. The rest of the artifact cards are taken out of the game. You're going to have 8 cards per player. You'll put these magical items in the middle, and players are going to pick one of them to start the game with. So maybe I'll start with this death life one. And then you're going to have these 5 places of power out here. Each of them has 2 sides, so there can be any variation of those. A deck of monuments is shuffled, and 2 of those are placed up. And this is going to be given to the first player, who will have 1 victory point. The goal of this game is to get 10 victory points. Victory points can be gotten by controlling a place of power, which is going to be worth a certain number of victory points. So this one, for example, is 2, plus 1 for each of the green essences on here. The life essence is on there. This one here is just worth 3 points. The monuments are going to be worth 1, 2, or 3 victory points. And some artifacts, when you get them into play, are going to be worth victory points, like this jeweled statuette. So at the end of a turn, if you have 10 victory points, then you win. If there's a tie, whoever has most essences wins. At the beginning of each turn, you're going to collect anything from cards that give it to you. So for example, if I was this duelist at the beginning, he would collect 1 elan essence. If I have the death or life, this magic thing, I can collect 1 death or 1 life essence. So having more of those in front of you at the beginning of your turn will give you that. Then starting with the first player, you're just going to take actions back and forth. What you can do is you can play an artifact in front of you. Place an artifact. When you place an artifact, sometimes they are free, but most of the time they're going to cost a certain number of essences. So this one costs 6 and 3. It's pretty expensive. This costs 2 of anything and then 1 life. And you'll put these in front of you. Sometimes when you put them in front of you, something will happen. Sometimes they'll increase the things that you get. But other times they're just there, and once per turn you can action, like for example the magic shard. I can turn this to take any essence that's not gold. The water dragon will attack all my rivals and make them lose 2 life, but instead they can discard 1 elan to ignore. The vault, I can turn this to put a gold on top of this vault, and at the beginning of my turn, if there's any gold here, I can take 2 resources for each gold that's on this. I can also take the gold off if I want to. And so all of them are going to have different powers. So you can use that also as your action. You can discard a card from your hand to your discard pile and just take 1 gold or any other 2 essences from the piles. You can also claim one of these places of power. These are much more expensive, 8 and 4 to claim this one, but these will often give you different things you can do with them. This one here, I can turn this one and get rid of a water to get 5 life. Or turn this plus a creature, that's what that means, some of the artifacts are creatures, to put a life essence on this card. And remember, this one's worth an extra point per life essence at the end of the game. On the other hand, this one here costs 3 gold And at the beginning of my turn, I can take any 3 resources that aren't gold once I get this. I can discard one of each of the other essences to put a gold on the card, and this is worth 1 point for every gold on the card. And if I'm ever attacked by a card like that dragon card you saw earlier, I can turn this to ignore that attack. So one of these 2 is in a game, and you can possibly claim these. You can also claim the monuments. You can take one of the face-up monuments or the top one from the pile for 4 gold. They always cost 4 gold. They're always going to be worth points, and then they also can do things like this obelisk. When you buy it, you immediately get 6 essence that's not gold. This one here, you can discard an essence to put a death on this card, which could eventually get you, you'll be able to pull that off at the beginning of your turn. So they're all going to do various things, except the Great Pyramid's just 3 points. That's the game. That's the game. You're just going to play back and forth, playing these cards. When someone passes on their turn, they'll take this token, which is worth a victory point to show. And then once everyone's done passing, once you pass, you will take the magic item that you have, put it back in the middle, and take another magic item. And you'll have to figure out which magic items, like this research lets me tap this, and to get rid of an essence to draw a card. This one here lets me tap it and get rid of 4 essence to get 2 gold. These give me more resources at the beginning of my turn. There's all sorts of things that you can get from these magical items. Once everyone has passed, does anyone have 10 victory points? They win. Otherwise, we will draw a card and go to the next round. That's it. Now, the mage theme is very generic, but the artwork on these is really nicely done. I really like how everything looks. It's really easy to tell the different things apart. I also like that the game comes with these cards that tell you exactly what every symbol means. I never had to look up a card because I'd be like, do this, 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 and this. What does it mean? They're listed on these cards, all the different symbols. The cards themselves are decent quality. They're not fantastic, but like I said, everything works well, and I really like this tray. This tray comes with a lid. You can use it over the course of the game. The tray then fits in the box itself, and all the other stuff fits in around it. Very good components. These are easy. There's even these 5 token pieces here in the middle. If you run out of tokens, you just take one of these and put a token on top of it to show that there's 5 of it. That's going to rarely happen in a 2-player game. I don't think it will ever happen in a 2-player game, but that's there. Everything else is pretty nice. Like I said, the theming of it's a little generic. It's mage versus mage, but it works really well. The rules are very clearly written. I like how they look on the back. They're just it's a well put together game. I really enjoy this game. Now, I like Tom Lehmann's engine building style anyway, and this works really well. You're putting the cards together and saying, okay, I'm going to use this card to get me a blue essence. I'll use this blue essence to play this creature, and this creature lets me do this, and this lets me get this to get these points. And these places of power in the middle, there's 5 of them, which will be different every game, and I want to go for that one. So I need to collect a lot of death essence to get that one. Once I get it, how am I going to motivate, use that to get more points, and maybe when I'm going to buy an artifact. So all this comes together. But what makes it fascinating is you have a different set of 8 cards every game. I cannot emphasize enough how much the drafting is worth it. You're drafting your 8 cards. You draw 4, pick one, pass them around until you have the 4 of your 8, and then you draw 4 more and do it again. And that kind of lets you manipulate it a little bit, but every game's going to be different because you don't know what cards you're going to have and how they work together. And you have a really tiny deck, so you're going to get these artifacts in play. When's the best time to discard one to take an essence of your choice? Or, that's knowing when to do that, and you should do that occasionally, can kind of give you that edge in your opponent. And then, of course, how does your mage work? What's the special power of your mage? And so all this fits together, and it feels like it's a pretty small game, right? There's only 5 places of power. They change. There's an 8-card hand, and then there's a small deck of artifact cards, and then a bunch of essences that you're moving around. But it's how you manipulate them. What magical artifact am I going to take? Should I pass a little bit early to get that extra point for passing early and get the magic item I need for the next turn? When should I discard a card? Which artifact should I build and when? And if you play with the drafting, which again feels like a good chunk of the game, which cards do I draft? All this comes together in such an elegant way. I don't normally use that word for games, but this one just feels like a well-oiled machine that you are trying to figure out. And it's going to be different every time, and that's kind of where I come in, because there's a lot of these engine building games, and it's like, definitely do this first, definitely do this first. Well, those things may not be in this game. This place of power might be out and I don't have this artifact, or I might be trying to get dragons in this game. You know, this place of power works with dragons. I don't have any in my deck, which is again why I think you should play with the drafting variant so that you can kind of focus on something over the course of this game. It's really neat, and it offers a lot of replayability. I said I think it plays best with 2. I hold pretty fast at it. I don't think it's bad with 3 or 4, but it just flows back and forth between the 2 people. I do this, you do that, I do this, you do that, I do this, I pass, I do that, boom, next turn. I do this, I do that, and I like it, but it doesn't feel like Magic the Gathering or, you know, in that kind of group, even though it is the spell versus spell. And honestly, I think the theme's going to hurt a little bit because I'll be like, hey, you want to play Res Arcana? People are like, oh, what is that, another mage game? Well, no, there's more to it than that. So I think that's going to hurt it a little bit. But production quality, art, fantastic. And then the game itself, which once you know what you're doing, you're going to be able to play games of this in 20 minutes or so, playing very fast back and forth. All right, let's draft cards and do it again. And honestly, I think this would make a really good app too. But as it is, I'm very impressed with this one. If you haven't heard of this one from a new company, I think it's their first game, definitely one to check out. A really fantastic game, Res Arcana. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent.